What's going to stop you writing your book? We found over the last 15, 20 years between us that there are key places where writers will get stuck, and we wanted to just give you a little heads up.
So I'm Sarah Bullitt. I'm a writing coach and literary agent.
And I'm drinking my coffee as Kate Emerson. I am an international speaker and best-selling author. So I think I'd like to kick off because one of the biggest places happens in the head and heart, where so many of us want to write a book. We dream of writing a book. We've thought about it since we were a little girl or a little boy. We wonder if we can, if we should. Someone told us we should. Why don't you? We love your jokes. Why don't you put them in a book? And so people have this calling, this yearning, this desire in their heart, but often then the mind gets in the way and will sabotage you and take you out before you've even started, because you'll go, well, could I? Do I have the time? What if it never gets published? What if it's rubbish? And so there's quite a dance that happens between the head and the heart. So often it just stays as an idea of one day when I'm retired, one day when I have enough time, one day when my kids are out the house and I'm living on an island, I will write my book. So you get stuck at that conceptual level and it just remains one of those ideas or dreams or a bucket list item. So that's number one. What's the next part?
Let's say you do then get over that hurdle and you start to write a book. A place I find most writers can get stuck is at 20,000 words. Why 20,000 words? Because if you write without first planning or plotting your book, you may find you've told your whole story by that point and it's wrapped up. Now, that doesn't really work because a book, particularly a novel, has got to come in at around 80,000 words. So you've told your story in a quarter of a full-length book size. So how do you get beyond that? And I'm adamant about this. You get beyond that by having a proper plan, plot, chapter outline before you start writing. So that's the only way you're going to have enough elements in your book, enough plot points to take you to the 80,000 word mark.
And so what happens in our mentorships, that's where we start you off knowing your genre, knowing your structure, your content buckets, scenes, and all of that. And then what happens is we kind of get to the middle part where you're digging deep, where you're having to put in lots of what we call bum time. And you're thinking, my God, this is so much harder than I ever thought. I thought it was a whole lot easier. Time, like all sorts of things start pulling at you and you maybe get stuck at 40,000 words and you just go, I don't know if I've got it in me. And that is where you have to dig in, lean in, as the common saying is now, where you have to dig deeper. You have to schedule more time, retreat time, call on a buddy, get some coaching. You really have to go, do I have what it takes to reach the end? It's very, very easy to give up halfway and just go, it's not worth it.
And often the conversation in your head at that point is, it's not worth it. This is rubbish. I have a better book. This isn't good. I'm going to start a better one. And that's really where we come in on our mentorships and say, absolutely not. Because the way you learn how to write a book is by getting to the end and then making it better.
You often call that jumping ship, don't you? And then it's like going after the shiny object, because it's much more fun to start a new story and a new book and get into that. And often what happens as well is we get to the next stage, which is you've finished your first draft. You put that last full stop or you put the last tick on your computer.
And you think,
I'm done.
Finished.
And you think something magical is going to happen with it and someone's just going to come and find you and publish your book and throw millions at you. No. And often what happens is you just run out of steam because you realize how much it has demanded of you. And typically what happens is you might not even print it out, but if you do print it out, you'll stick it in a bottom drawer where it will start gathering dust until you call me in to declutter your life and your home. Or it goes into a little file 13 on your computer and it sits there. Perhaps you've given it a title and maybe 20 years down the line, you'll go, oh, but I wrote a first draft once. So that's a real shame because you've put so much work in and then it just kind of goes to the dust pile.
And the problem in that, Kate, is that what writers don't understand, and maybe thankfully so until they get to the end, is that the end of the first version of your book is just the beginning. Because then the demand on you as a writer is to take that and make it better, and make it better, and make it publishable.
So what's the fifth place that writers generally get stuck?
So from our mentorships and from working with so many writers over the years, I absolutely know that this is huge. And that's when you send your book off to an agent or to a publisher and you get a no.
And you've probably sent 5 people.
So the biggest problem is that you haven't sent to enough publishers. And sending off to publishers is a sales business. And anybody in sales knows it's a numbers game. You don't need every publisher to like your book. but you only need one. So if you only send to 5, the chances are you may not even get a reply. But that's hard as a writer. It's hard to put your book out there. It's hard to send it out to 20. It's hard to keep sending it out to 20. And that's, I think, for this video, the last place that almost all writers get stuck. It's just the courage to keep sending the manuscript out.
I always remember Jack Canfield talking about in his Chicken Soup for the Soul series that him and his business partner went to 144 publishers, and it was the 145th one that said yes. And that is now a multi-billion-dollar book. Publishing, I mean, I don't even know what to call it. It's empire. You know, with all the chicken, everybody knows Chicken Soup for the Soul, the series.
So we have 2 levels of mentorships. The first one is to get you to write your first draft of your book. The 4 months. It's a huge push. We will not let you off the hook. We don't let you jump ship. And we walk with you the whole way through it.
That's called Complete Your Book. And then when you've got that under your belt, then we take you to the next level, our advanced mentorship, where you have to have completed your first draft. And then we take you on a somewhat exhilarating yet terrifying 10-week journey. Even like we do it ourselves, and we're like, oh my God, this is so much. But within 10 weeks, you have completed your second draft. You'll find out what that is. You have, what have you done?
All your marketing.
All your marketing.
Query
author
letter,
brand.
blurb, author brand. You're ready to push play. So we'd love you to look at some of the endorsements of some of the many, many authors who've come through our mentorships and been published on the website. And maybe we'll see you on a mentorship or on a retreat or just working with us in the future.
Bottom line is, write your book.